The investigation into a political scandal that has rocked the nation is picking up speed. What are the issues at stake, and where is the probe headed? With the country's top leadership mired in this scandal, a dark cloud hangs over a number of core issues now cast aside, stirring up demand for a political breakthrough. All this right ahead. Welcome to News Inside. I'm An Jung-hyun. Let's meet our panelists. Professor Shin Sang-hyuk from Kyung University Graduate School of International Studies is with us. And Dr. Pong-young Shik from Yonsei University Institute for North Korean Studies joins us as well. The prosecution investigation into the Choi Soon-sil scandal is in full swing. We will discuss how far-reaching the probe will be and where things are headed. But first, here's a quick rundown.
Choi Soon-sil, the woman at the heart of the ongoing political scandal, returned to Korea from Germany to face questioning from prosecutors. Investigators have launched their probe into the establishment of the Mir and K-Sports foundations, the alleged misuse of the funds involved, and Choi's involvement in leaked presidential documents. The political scandal has rocked the nation, and recent surveys reflect great disappointment from the public. President Park Geun-hye's approval ratings, which had stood around 30% for the most part of her term, has nosedived to a record low. Protests erupted nationwide over the weekend, with members of the public condemning the developments that had come to light. Some 20,000 came together just near the Cheonggye Square in Seoul. The series of developments have created turmoil not only within political circles, but also among the public. We look at how to get past the challenges ahead.
Now, if you remember, the president issued an apology after the report, one day after the report on leaked presidential documents broke. Since then, her presidential aides have stepped down, a new prime minister appointed. Could we say this is a relatively swift response?
Regretfully, I don't think so. Even though this time President changed the Senior Secretary for Civil Affairs, Woo Byung-woo, and the Presidential Senior Secretary for Policy Coordination, Mr. An Jong-bum. These two people have been criticized very strongly by the people, particularly after the Choi Soon-sil scandal broke out. They were at the center of the public opinions. But even though the president decided to change them this time, I think it was a little bit late. And then, of course, we have to wait and see, but it was not strong enough to change the public environment about this issue.
Well, Choi Soon-sil flew back to Korea earlier than expected. She did respond to a prosecution request, went out in front of the prosecution for questioning, and was later detained. What do you think the main focus of the investigation will be now?
Well, the prosecutor's office just issued the arrest warrant for the detention of Ms. Choi Soon-sil. And the warrant issued lists the crimes, including the attempted fraud to extort the donation from the corporations for setting up foundations, and abuse of public authority. Of course, Ms. Choi Soon-sil did not carry any official authority, but it's an accomplice through the allegedly through the Blue House main steps. What is interesting is that the prosecutor's office warrant does not include the leakage of the official secret documents from the Blue House and exerting influence upon some recruitment and the appointments of important government positions. So there is a chance that the crimes assigned to Ms. Choi Soon-sil may increase in near future.
So to add those charges, perhaps that would
Then
be
there's
the
a
focus of the
possibility
investigation.
that the current scandal may snowball continuously.
Well, there's been a lot of back and forth in political circles over the Choi Soon-sil scandal. Take a look.
사건에 대한 철저한 수사는 수사대로 진행돼야 되기 때문에
행정부의 리더십이 지금 문제가 생긴 상태에서 국회가 어쨌든 이 위기 국면을 수습하고 하는데 주체가 또 돼야 되거든요.
새누리당의 대국민 석구 대제가 이루어져야 합니다. 최순실 부역자의 전원 사퇴가 이루어져야 하는 것입니다.
지금 사태를 수습하려면 첫째, 철저한 진상규명, 두 번째, 대통령의 진솔한 자백 및 수사 협조, 세 번째, 대통령의 탈당이 선행돼야 합니다.
Again, we're seeing the ruling and opposition parties clash over a lot of issues, but there are certain things that they seem to agree on at the moment.
Well, first of all, everybody, I think, they want to conduct a very thorough investigation about this issue, the scandal. Well, the President made an official apology, a very short apology, but everybody does not know very well, details about this scandal itself. So the President, or the government should make it clear that the case will be thoroughly investigated, and the prosecutor's office should have to make some special the announcement that showing their will, how they're going to conduct the investigation about this scandal. And secondly, the point, the thing which make the people get upset and very angry is that we cannot trust that the person who take the responsibility will avoid any kind of some punishment. We cannot believe very regretfully what the government says or what the prosecutor's office says at the moment. Even though they do not make a clear statement yet, but directly or indirectly they have explain what they are going to do. But as I said before, first of all, they have to make it clear, and secondly, they should use every methods to show their willingness, how they're going to deal with this case.
그래서 수사는 의혹이 굉장히 지금 증폭되어 있는 만큼 최선을 다해서 성역 없이 지위고하를 막론하고 실체 진실 규명에 힘을 다하겠습니다.
Without those kind of things, I think it's quite difficult for us to stop the running around the toothless rumors and informations. I think this will be very, very serious for us. For the Korean government to run the policies or govern the country because. The Korean economy, I'm going to talk about this later, but Korean economy seems to be very serious. All economic indicators show very serious, negative the trends. And without the right role of the government, I think the situations can be more serious than it is. So I really worry about the situation we are in.
So a thorough investigation and holding accountable the people who are responsible. And perhaps maybe we could add to that the call for reform, political reform or change.
Yes, hour by hour, the responses from the political parties have been changed. But to make a long story short, definitely there have been strong demands for the reshuffling of the cabinets, or to give the full authority to the newly appointed prime minister. But we just heard about news that new prime minister candidate was designated by the president.
국정이 붕괴되는 상황을 보고 그대로 있기가 힘들었습니다. 국무총리가 되면 헌법이 규정한 국무총리로서의 권한을 100% 행사할 겁니다. 그러면서 개각을 포함해 모든 것을 국회 및 여야 정당과 협의해 나가겠습니다.
But about the procedure, the appointing the prime minister's candidate, it can be another source of the confusion in the politics.
즉각 인사청문회 절차에 착수해 조속히 국정을 안정시키겠다는 의지를 보여야 할 것입니다.
여3당 원내대표가 이미 그 인물의 됨됨이나 이런 자격 혹은 이분의 주장과 무관하게 인준 거부하기로 이미 합의한 상황입니다. 그렇기 때문에 무슨 여기서 어떤 다른 이야기가 나온다고 해서 입장을 번복할 수 있는 상황은 아니다.
But anyway, we have to discuss about the best solution to this issue as soon as possible, regardless of the political parties where they are belonging to. I mean, otherwise, I think we will miss the so-called golden time in dealing with this issue. The another point which I want to emphasize is Korea is one of the most important countries in the world. So, which means that many countries are paying attention to the situation happening in Korea. If we cannot control this situation efficiently, that will be a huge negative impacts on the Korea and Korean national interest, I think.
Well, the foreign media has been following recent developments with keen interest as well. Let's see how the story's been covered in foreign press.
Foreign media coverage has been fierce of the explosive scandal. First came reports from the AP, the New York Times, and others on President Park Geun-hye's nationwide apology. Coverage of protests that broke out over the weekend also made major headlines, with outlets reporting on site, especially when Choi Soon-sil was summoned by prosecutors. China's CCTV reported Choi's arrest without a warrant as breaking news. Japanese media, meanwhile, speculated it may be difficult for Seoul and Tokyo to make progress on discussing a bilateral military information sharing agreement despite talks having restarted.
Many news reports speculate that the current administration faces a serious crisis and possibly a protracted turmoil. There were even some reports calling Ms. Choi a Korean female Rasputin.
I mean, I agree with Professor Shin that unless the government will take control over the situation effectively and immediately, there is no stopping of the unfounded rumors. Circulating among Korean people and outside the country. What is at stake is not just the presidency or the authority of the Blue House, but the character and the image of Korea as a nation. So there is a great need for cooperation between different branches of government to maintain social order and effective communication. It is very regrettable in that regard that President Park's first apology to the nation was little too late and little too short and not sincere enough in the eyes of the general public. Because although she apologizes, her reliance upon Ms. Choi Soon-sil for editing and revising major speeches that she made. But she confined to the purview of the intervention by Ms. Choi to the era before she inaugurated as a new president, which turned out to be far from truth by the following media reports. So she missed the opportunity to get connected with the Korean people and restore at least a modicum amount of trust. But the apology was pre-recorded, and it was only 90 seconds. And it failed to specify what kind of follow-up measures that would be sufficient to gain trust of the public, and so the public could just wait and see without asking for harsher measures, including impeachment of the president, was unfortunately lost. And the way that Dr. Kim Byung-jun, who worked as a senior advisor during the Nomu현 presidency as a new prime minister, was not in full consultation with the political parties. So the image of the Blue House not really paying full respect for the principle of the separation of power and the authority of the legislative body of the government. That's another regrettable aspect of the way that Blue House has been handling the situation.
There are also news reports drawing a parallel between this scandal and Hillary Clinton's email controversy.
We can say 2 points. The first one, Clinton used the email to send some top secrets or the official documents.
Private email
private
server.
emails,
Right.
yes. Well, it was this first point which I want to concern about, and then second one is actually one of her top, senior advisor. She used to work for Clinton for a long time. When she was the state of secretary, she was also one of the senior advisors to her. And then very recently, it was found that her husband got the
Her ex-husband.
ex-husband, yes, got the official documents from the Mrs. Clinton. So in this context, maybe the President Park Geun-hye, it will need more investigation. But according to the report, the Choi Soon-sil got the top secret classified documents from the Blue House, from President Park Geun-hye. So I think in this context is very similar. But the point is, which I want to point out, is that the situation is a little bit different. In case of the Mrs. Clinton, that was the email sent by the Mrs. Clinton to the top senior advisors, 8. But in case of this Choi Soon-sil scandal, Choi Soon-sil, as Dr. Bong pointed out, did not have any the official titles.
Right.
So it's quite different from these two cases, I think.
If I were any member of the government in any department, it will be really devastating and disappointing, because that shows that the Blue House, your top leader, did not really put trust and have a full respect for your own function, whichever level you are working for the government.
Well, there have also been suggestions that the public outrage and disappointment over this scandal reflects a much more deeply rooted sentiment that Korean people have about this administration.
Because Korean people, at least majority of them, who elected President Park, had a high hope for her to be clean president, which she promised all along, even before she became the president of the Republic of Korea. She maintained this image quite successfully and persistently, different kind of politician, above the usual, how would I say, the ugly, pragmatic world of daily politics, but she emerged as a national leader with this clean image, maintaining principle and honesty at all cost, even sacrificing immediate political gains. And that's why this is far more devastating to even acknowledge by any ordinary Korean people. And in the past, when there's a huge scandals implicated with the sitting president, it is not president himself. It used to be just the president's brothers.
Right.
In case of the President Roh Moo-hyun and President Lee Myung-bak, or sons, or the top aides, or the first lady. But this time, there's an allegation directly pointing the president's office. So it is a very significant difference that makes this case even more devastating to Korean people. And well, liberals in Korean politics praise Roh Moo-hyun as the cleanest president we ever had in South Korea. And President Park Geun-hye has been all along conservatives, icon of clean politics. So the tragic ending of Roh Moo-hyun was not hoped to be repeated by any conservative president, including President Park Geun-hye. So witnessing this scandal is very difficult for the traditional supporters for President Park Geun-hye.
Well, in the midst of this political turbulence, the economy is an issue of grave concern. Korea's sovereign credit ratings have been at record high levels, but could these growing political risks take a toll on that?
I think so. Almost all of Korea's economy indicators point downwards, and all the top economic policymakers failed to spearhead the economic reforms. And under such a kind of situations, Choi Soon-sil scandal broke out. So if I give you more details about Korean economy, well, according to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy, the Korean exports fell 3.2% in October. And as you know very well, the unexpected events of the Samsung and the longest strike in the Hyundai Motor in the second half of this year can be the main causes of the slowdown of the Korean economy. On the top of that, because of the Hanjin Shipping's bankruptcy, the service sector shows serious problems. And under such a kind of very difficult economic situations, the right role of the government is important and very important. But because of the Choi Soon-sil scandal, I think the government role is very limited. So that's the reason why we are really concerned about the Korean economy.
Yeah, major economic issues we talked about so far this year, things like corporate restructuring or labor reform, those have all been now put on the back burner.
Yes, this is the situation we have. And then say again, who can fix this situation, change the current situation? I think there could be several players, but the government should take the initiatives. But as I said before, considering the situations facing the government and Korean president, I really doubt whether they can play the right role. Then what is the answer? What is the best solution to overcome the facing challenges? I think as we discussed very briefly already, the political stability should be accomplished first. Well, there could be several ways. To transfer the full authority to the new prime minister, or the cabinet-led government system can be suggested as the solutions to overcome this situation. But everything is not clear yet.
Yeah.
So we have to wait and see. But the one thing which I want to underline is that, well, we have to make a decision as soon as possible, which means that we don't have enough time to make a decision. Well, it seems to be very contradictory, doesn't it? Because that we don't have enough time, but we have to make a decision as soon as possible. So, well, I hope that the political leaders should have to work together based on the thinking that putting their first priority on the prosperity of the national interest, not political parties' interest or personal interests.
Yes, the Choi Soon-sil scandal has marred progress on most of the pending state affairs, and as Professor Shin just pointed out, it highlighted the need for a political breakthrough and a swift resolution.
President Park Geun-hye still has about a year and a half left in her term, but the political leadership has ground to a halt, facing the biggest scandal since the president took office. To find a breakthrough, the National Assembly Speaker and the chairs of the largest three parties came together to hold discussions, only to see talks collapse. One of the biggest problems is the country's pending budget proposal for next year, which has just over a month left to secure parliamentary approval. The ongoing corporate restructuring of the ailing shipping and shipbuilding industries is another issue at stake. The government announced support measures aimed at bolstering competitiveness, but some say momentum is already lost. Heated debate over a special probe into the Choi Soon-sil scandal and the issue of reshaping the leadership structure have overwhelmed parliamentary discussions, slamming the brakes on most other issues. The month of November carries significance in the overall scheme of planning for the approaching new year, creating the strong need for a grand political resolution.
As political parties were discussing ways to institute sweeping changes within the core leadership, a couple of ideas were floated by the ruling and opposition camps. One is that of forming a nonpartisan cabinet. Another is a system where the prime minister shoulders more responsibility. Now, President Park Geun-hye did appoint a new prime minister. Does that mean she is leaning towards the second option?
Well, at the same time, those two options are not mutually exclusive. You can have the bipartisan, neutral cabinet and the prime minister who will, receive the full authority for the domestic politics and governance from the President's office. So it is very important for the Blue House to appoint the candidate for the new Prime Minister who will secure support, not from the some segment of the population or political parties, but truly bipartisan. And the public will see the new Prime Minister responsible and capable to lead a country in time of crisis.
But under a non-partisan cabinet system, the president wouldn't be appointing the prime minister. The political parties would decide.
But at the same time, the appointment has to go through the authorization by the president. So I like to see some positive elements coming out of this crisis. Then one, there has been an idea floating around that if there be a new constitution revised, as proposed by the President Park Geun-hye a couple of weeks ago, then one idea was to change the government structure to dual, system, something very close to the French government.
Right, semi-presidential
the president will be in charge of national security and foreign policy, and the prime minister will be mainly in charge of other, state affairs. So by default, the neutral cabinet and the prime minister, based upon the full support from full bipartisan support, will be equivalent to practicing the dual government system. So it will be a very valuable experience and experiment for Korean people if there will be another debates and discussions for revising constitution in near future. And two, president's term is only about 12 months left. So impeachment and electing new president will not be the best idea for the public interest, given very precipitative and crowded political schedule. And these presidential hopefuls, whether they belong to the ruling party or opposition party, do not seem to be really ready to wage effective campaign. That deprive of the right to make the right choice for the voters. Korean voters are entitled to make the right choice in electing the next president. But impeachment or other political crisis that might force the President Park to come out of the office before the official end of the term will deprive the constitutional right of the voters to have enough time and deliberations to make the right choice.
Well, the opposition camp wanted a non-partisan cabinet system. So we could probably expect some objections from the opposition camp about the fact that the president again appointed the new prime minister.
Well, among the opposition parties, there must be some differences regarding this issue. They suggest different solutions. It looks quite similar, but when you look at the contents which they insisted, they are very different. For example, the non-partisan cabinet system, yes, but there are some preconditions suggested by the two political parties, some opposition parties. Well, even though the Moon Jae-in, who is regarded as one of the strong presidential candidates from the Minju Party, he suggested as one of the preconditions for the establishment of cabinet, non-partisan cabinet system, is that the step down of the President Park Geun-hye. But the floor leader of the Minju Party seems to have different ideas about this one. So even within the same political party, we found something different opinions regarding this issue. And how about the Kookmin Party?
The People's Party.
People's Party. They change their opinions day by day. So to be frank with you, I don't know exactly what is their official stance. Even though they empathize that thorough investigation should be carried out. Yes, it is absolutely needed. Everybody has the same idea about that, the needs of the thorough investigation. But they failed to suggest the after measures. What kind of measures they're going to take to maintain the political decisions, without stopping the governing the states. And from the ruling party, Saenuri Party, there are conflicts between 친박 and 비박, I mean, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, this is very serious time, isn't it? I mean, they have to discuss about how to deal with this issue successfully for Korea and for the Korean people. So what I'm saying is that the political parties, as I said before, should put the first priority on the Korea and the Korean people, not the political parties' interest or the personal interest as a politician.
One of the biggest concerns we have at the moment is a possible power vacuum. Do you think there is a power vacuum already, or are we still not too late?
To some degree, yes. I mean, personally, I'm really concerned about the power vacuum. You know, everybody knows that the president lost the leadership at the moment. And the next question we have to find an answer is that whether she will be able to restore the leadership in the near future. Personally, I don't think so. It's going to be extremely difficult for us to see her. I mean, the President Park can get back the leadership in the near future. She has about 1 year and 4 months left. I mean, but I think, practically speaking, it's going to be very difficult for her to show her leadership as the president as she did over the last 3 years. So what I want to emphasize is that, as both of you have discussed, we have to refer to the French system. Maybe president just take a role in the diplomacy or the defense, while the prime minister just deal with the domestic affairs.
Outside of domestic politics, so what ramifications might this scandal have on other state affairs, such as foreign relations?
The power vacuum is already part of the reality, so no major policy changes are likely to happen, which is a very bad news for Korean national security and foreign policy. When you consider the continuous development of long-range missiles and nuclear tests by North Korea. So South Korea has been all along sticking to the policy of the pressure on North Korea, including economic sanctions, after its fifth nuclear test early this year. And whether South Korea will continue to play the central role in solidifying and maintaining the momentum and international consensus on economic sanctions on North Korea is in serious question. And another point is that in order to augment effective deterrence and defense against North Korea's nuclear missile threats, the sharing intelligence on North Korean military and other weapon system among security partners of South Korea, including Japan, has been as important as before. But the GSOMIA, General Security of a Military Information Agreement, has been on the table, and it has gained some momentum to actually being signed by the two governments. But I don't know whether the GSOMIA will be actually signed by the two governments in the midst of such a political turmoil, when you consider that it was a highly unpopular decision toward the end of the Lee Myung-bak government in 2012. You cannot discount the very negative sentiment in South Korean public on any measures that seemingly allow Japan to increase its military capability without paying due contrition and apology for historical wrongdoings. I don't know whether the Park Geun-hye administration has a sufficient political capital to force the signing of GSOMIA at this critical juncture.
Plus, there's the U.S. election coming up.
U.S. election as well. So the good news is that it takes about 9 months on average for a new government in the United States to set up the foreign policy team to deal with in pragmatic and effective manners of the important security issues, including the security situation on the Korean Peninsula. So there's some window of opportunity for South Korean government to prepare for the new leadership in Washington. But you are right that making some initial first impression and to build some personal
Rapport,
chemistry between two leaders, it might be difficult.
Yeah.
And as I continue to say about some concerns on the field of national security and diplomacy. I don't know whether President Park Geun-hye will be duly prepared to participate in the trilateral summit with Japan and China, which is scheduled to take place toward the end of this year.
It could also be that her image overseas could have been dealt a heavy blow because the foreign media have been covering this story pretty closely.
Right. This is very unfortunate. And it is comforting that I guess the Blue House is very well aware of this danger. So President appointed a new public relations secretary in the Blue House when she reshuffled the secretaries in the Blue House.
Yeah, the last thing we want at a time like this is speculation and unfounded rumors just adding fuel to the fire. So I suppose this is a time when the media really needs to step up to the plate.
I think the role of media is very important because, as you pointed out, the toothless rumors are running around the Korean society. Well, the attitude we have to concern about is that report if those are not the truth. Oh, I don't care. Those kind of attitudes should be prevented. I mean, if they think about the prosperous of the Korea and Korean people, they should behave themselves first of all. And then, but when I look at the society happening, I mean, the happenings at the Korean society is, well, just try to make some speculations based on the toothless rumors, and those kind of things seems to be one of the most important things. I mean, which have to concern us most. Otherwise, the confusion is getting worse and worse. And then considering situation they're facing the Korean government, well, they cannot control the situation. Then who will be the victims of those kind of scandal? Ourselves and our country. So as I said before already several times, I mean, regardless of the political party where they're belonging to and what kind of the political opinions they have, at the moment we have to take the attitude, putting the first priority on the national interest and Korean people. Based on this kind of the thinking, if they find a solution to deal with this situation, I think we will be able to find a solution in the near future.
Well, we have to wrap up our discussion for this week. Your final thoughts of the
Well,
week,
the politicians try to seek for the best solutions when they face difficulties. But the another side of the politics is that the politics should be flexible to take the second best options. This is a saying which I want to tell the politicians, particularly opposition party politicians.
Dr. Bong?
Well, I don't deny that Blue House is responsible for this crisis. But at the same time, this is a good opportunity, humble time for us to think about ourselves, whether we refuse to raise our voice when we see some things are going wrong. I was reminded of this scene in the Oliver Stone's movie, Nixon, because there's a talk about impeachment and compare the current situation in Korea to Nixon's Watergate scandal. And toward the end of the movie, President Nixon, before he signed the resignation, was looking at the portrait of John F. Kennedy, his predecessor. He has this inferiority complex to JFK. And he just made a soliloquy saying that when people see you, they see who they want to be. And when they see me, they see who they really are. I guess during this political crisis, we should be humble to see who we really are.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us this week. That is all for this edition of News Inside. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with more next week.